This is the one I would consider the bad task example. What's wrong about it? What doesn't make sense? Well, first of all, it specifies how. In other words, it assumes a solution. So it says that there's a website that's excellentSailingLessons.com, which has a login register button in the upper right. You might have a different kind of solution. So it's already assuming the solution before you think critically about the task. It says something about a dashboard with some action buttons and then a book lesson button. But this may not be the optimal way to go. So this kind of assumes what you want to create without thinking critically about the task example. You may want to create an app or have some other sort of layout. So this is something that you don't want to have in your task examples. Another critique is that it's not very specific. It says sailing lessons, but it doesn't say anything about what kind of sailing lessons. It also says vacation dates, but doesn't say what they are or anything about that. It's also not a complete job. She clicks book, but what happens at the very end? What's the outcome of this task? How does this whole story end? This is really important to have if you want to know the success criteria of this task and really have all of the details there. Finally, it says Claire and her family, but it doesn't really say who those people are. Is her family her and a dog? Is her family her, a partner, and several kids? Is it her extended family? They're going on a big group vacation. All of these will probably impact how your tool would need to support the task. And so it's important to capture that detail in that task. So again, why is this bad? It assumes a solution. There may be better ones available. It's vague, so any designs to support this could be incomplete. It doesn't specify an outcome, so there is no specified end state. And it doesn't link to the users, so you can't link it to your personas to check against their goals, needs, and abilities. We can compare this to a good task example, which is this one. This one says what but not how. It says that they gather around the travel organizer, but it doesn't say that it's a specific website or app or physical kiosk. It says the console is designed so that all members of the family can interact easily and comfortably, which are goals that you want to achieve, but doesn't say how you're achieving those goals. It leaves the solution open. Same thing for showing description of flotillas. It kind of gives that extra bit of detail, but doesn't actually say what is being shown and how. It's very specific. This is a sailing trip for 4 novices in the Mediterranean. It talks about the different members. Skye and Irman aren't very happy with the idea of going on a vacation with a group of their people, although the Thompsons would have their own boat. So now there's some extra tension that people might have, which helps you think about how your users might behave in that situation. It describes a complete job. They ask for the details to be printed so they can consider them tomorrow, and they print out a summary. So you have an outcome, an end state, something you can test against later on and see if that really makes sense to completely finish the job. Finally, it says who the users are. The Thompson family enjoy outdoor activities. They want to try their hand at sailing, so they're new at that. There are 4 family members, and it gives you an idea of who they are. You might be able to explicitly just link these to your personas, so you have a very rich set of potential users for each task example. So to completely summarize, a very good task example will say what but not how. It's very specific, describes a complete job, and says who the users are. There are different types of task descriptions. So a task description is a general term describing tasks, and it can take many different forms. A scenario is a task description that is an informal narrative description, a story that allows exploration and discussion of contexts, needs, and requirements. And you can take a look at the textbook to understand more about scenarios. They're a natural way of working with task descriptions. These stories in general are a good way to collect and discuss tasks from users, and they're very useful early on in the design process. You can ask a potential user, hey, tell me a story about what you would like to happen, or what did happen when you used a previous tool. And you can use that to kind of abstract and create your task descriptions, but through creating scenarios. There's another kind of task description called a use case, which has an emphasis on a user-system interaction. And for assignment 1, you're going to only do task description 1 and task description and scenarios. These are the ways of thinking about the task with just the task. There's no solution attached to it. Once we start doing the design alternatives step, then you can start thinking about use cases. So you take a solution and you add it in, you kind of incorporate it into your task description. And this gives you a use case, which then tells you a bit more detail about how your system should actually behave before you even have to build it. So a quick question. Should we describe users and tasks separately? They're clearly related, right? I'll give you a second to think. Yes, we can reuse descriptions. This may not always be true, but generally it makes a lot of sense to describe your users, describe your tasks, and then link. So that you can have multiple tasks involving one user or vice versa, and you can really have a rich ecosystem of people, these fictional people that are doing all these different tasks. The key takeaways from this lesson are to think about who will use your system. Intentionally think about potential users and other stakeholders. Describing them will help you understand the people you're designing for. Personas are a common, effective way to digest this information, but you can think about other formats to use for assignment 1 and other design activities that you do. You also need to think about what people need to do. Accumulating a set of task examples will help you understand the needs that people have with a certain system or problem. There are certain criteria for an effective task example, and you want to be able to use that to create good ones. So, be able to describe users and create effective task examples. That's it for now. See you next time.